to educate the public about how food should not be an impossible choice. For many, a daily meal is just a choice of what to eat for dinner. But for more than 337,000 of our neighbors in central Pennsylvania, the daily meal poses a different type of choice. Often, they are faced with an impossible choice of buying food or paying for another important bill, such as utilities, housing, medicine. Tough choices. Many are just one paycheck away from financial hardship. While the signs of economic recovery are encouraging, food insecurity remains a stark reality for thousands of our neighbors. The COVID-19 crisis revealed how vulnerable so many Pennsylvanians are to hunger. It shined a spotlight on the disproportionate impact hunger has on people of color and people who live in rural communities. These individuals and families have been hit harder with the health and economic consequences of the pandemic, and studies show that their recovery will take longer. But the pandemic also revealed just how caring, generous, and heroic you are. You, the Central Pennsylvania community, are our hunger heroes.
Our mission is fighting hunger, improving lives, and strengthening communities. This past year, we learned just how strong we can be together, even when we couldn't be together, making the impossible possible. Because of you, we gave hope through the healing power of healthy food to hundreds of thousands of individuals, hardworking families and their children, seniors and veterans, many who needed help for the very first time. Because of you, we delivered more than 57 million meals and shared more than 32 million pounds of fresh fruits, vegetables, dairy, and protein. Because of you, we were able to fortify our network of nearly 1,200 local partners in 27 counties, an area twice the size of the state of New Jersey. Our territory is wide, but our impact is local. Because of you, we will be able to continue to provide a helping hand to the many who need it as they work to get back on their feet, including people in rural communities and communities of color who have been hit the hardest during this pandemic. As the saying goes, not all heroes wear capes. You have certainly been our hunger heroes over the past year and a half and have worked hard to make the impossible possible. Our network of local pantries, soup kitchens, and service organizations, our generous supporters, our steadfast volunteers, our tireless team. Thank you, our community of hunger heroes, who showed us that the impossible is possible by working together, and for continuing to help us as we move forward. A significant number of our neighbors will still need a helping hand for months, maybe even years to come. With your support, we will provide recovery services as long as needed, distributing hope one community at a time. We truly are better together.
Amazing. So many heroic actions, too many people to name by name. Superman said, "A hero is an ordinary individual who finds strength to persevere and endure in spite of overwhelming obstacles." To our partner agencies, volunteers, donors, and our exceptional food bank team, thank you for your heroism. You have made the impossible possible. When history looks back on the COVID-19 pandemic, no doubt one of the stories that will be remembered is how millions of Americans faced food insecurity, and many for the very first time. And this is true in central Pennsylvania as well. Joe Arthur is the food bank's executive director. Joe, what can you tell us about the Charitable Food Network's response so far in 2021, and what lessons we have learned during the pandemic?
Thank you, Amy, and thank you to everybody that is attending today. I think we have over 200 participants today. So that's really outstanding to have that kind of a support for our town hall and interest in our town hall. So thank you so much for folks that are checking in. I think as the video kind of showed, COVID-19 tested us all. It tested our will, our resolve, our ability to adapt. And when I say our and we, I mean everybody, our entire society. And the folks that get involved in this mission really stepped up. And that's why we view everyone as heroes. When the pandemic hit, we ramped up efforts. And when I say we, not only Central Pennsylvania Food Bank, but all of those partners that we discussed in the video, over 1,200 partners. Most of them, the vast majority, staying in during all parts of the pandemic, which is unfortunately still with us, as we know, to serve people safely and serve over 40% more people than they had the prior year. Extraordinary under the most difficult of conditions. In fact, during last fiscal year, which ended in June, we had served over 450,000 unique individuals as a network. Truly, truly heroic. As signs of the recovery emerge, now as we're building this recovery with COVID still, challenging us, we've asked ourselves the question, and with our partners, what do we understand better now than we did before the pandemic, and where do we go from here? We learned a couple of lessons. And I think one of the very biggest lessons we all maybe relearned was hunger can affect anyone. More than 40% of the clients served by the food bank last year and our partners, that was their first time seeking food assistance. 40% of those 450,000 individuals were seeking help for the first time. That's extraordinary. But what it taught us is, at any point in time, any one of us, any family, any individual, and we mean anybody, the pandemic has proven that, can face financial hardship that they never imagined. They couldn't imagine, but we saw it over the last 18 months. The pandemic brought that into focus. While emergency food assistance is core to our mission, and that's what the video is all about, we feel from this lesson that we must also work to help people find financial stability and to help them end their hunger, before it even begins. The second big lesson we learned is hunger does disproportionately affect some communities more than others. So in the video, you might have heard that rural communities and also our communities of color were hardest hit. And that's true in our world as well. And unfortunately, as we start to recover from the economic impacts, and the recovery is underway, and we're cheering that on, we're finding that those same areas, those rural communities, some of which are fairly isolated in central Pennsylvania, and our communities of color, are still being impacted harder than other communities. Food insecurity rates in our rural counties increased in magnitude from 25 to 30% from 2019 until 2021. And I mean right now. 2020, we knew demand went up incredibly, food insecurity went up incredibly. But here in 2021, we are seeing that food insecurity rates are still higher in rural areas and communities of color than before the pandemic. So we have more work to do. Central Pennsylvania Food Bank is looking at our strategic plan with a tighter lens on equity, diversity, and inclusion, so that we can better address the challenges that we're facing right now to remove more barriers to food security for every person, no matter where they live or what their race is, what their creed is. There's more work to do. So the third big lesson we learned is we can't take the food supply chain for granted. And when I say we, I mean all of us, not just the food bank, not just our partner agencies that work with us. Everybody. We learned during the pandemic that our food supply system was greatly challenged, and in some cases, could not deliver what our nation needed. Fortunately, through some really hard work throughout our network with our partners, ourselves, our suppliers, our donors, and the United States Department of Agriculture and our State Department of Agriculture, we worked hard to find the healthy food that all of our neighbors in need required during the pandemic and beyond. And fortunately, we were able to meet that need. And we met it with about 70% of the food that we provided being what we call foods to encourage, or healthy food like fresh fruits, vegetables, dairy and protein products, milk, cheese, wonderful products, eggs, all of the things that we look forward for our own tables, we were able to provide. But we were severely strained as a country and as a food bank network to meet that need. So there are some things that we learned from that, and one of them is local is very important. So we have started a new initiative with our partner agencies. We're in a pilot right now. We call it Farm Grants. And FARM is an acronym that stands for Farm to Agency Resource Market, which sounds a little technical, but the bottom line on it, sourcing locally with our partners to our growers and producers right here in central Pennsylvania, and including small farms and producers, actually especially small farms and producers. They were unsung heroes during the pandemic, and now we want to lift up that work and actually put some dollars into it. Your donor dollars are going to help us provide additional grants to our partner agencies, some of whom we'll meet today a little bit later in the program, so that they can acquire locally, and the food bank will not be in the middle of the food. This will go within the last mile or so, from farm to partner agency to our neighbor in need, all within that last mile. So we're looking forward to expanding that during 2022, and looking forward to actually planning with our small farms and other producers right here in central Pennsylvania. We think that's a big part of our future together, and it's good for our local economies. It's good for our farms, it's good for our producers of food, and it's good for our local economies. Another big lesson we learned: partnerships are powerful. When the food bank asked for help, you answered the call. Generous financial donations helped us keep up with the demand, keep our team safe, help our agencies to keep themselves and their volunteers safe, our volunteers safe in our packing center, and support the entire network to make sure we didn't waver in helping our neighbors in need. And it was your support that helped us do that. As we said in the video, over 57 million meals through June during the pandemic, an extraordinary amount of food. And were it not for that response by our entire network of partners, most of these families would have gone without this healthy food. 57 meals is hard to imagine, but that is what we accomplished together. And within that, about 14 million pounds of fresh produce and something like 6 million servings of fresh milk, if you can imagine that, brought to people in need through our charitable food system right here in central Pennsylvania. So to sustain the mission at the local level and build resiliency throughout this network, we invest in our partners. We work together, we invest, we provide assistance. We call them bold goal grants as part of our strategic bold goal plan. And we provide that assistance to help our partners increase their capacity, expand their refrigeration, expand their freezer space, diversify their food offerings, and launch programs that actually help end hunger before it starts. So beyond feeding people, actually helping people to be sustainable without the charitable food network, which is our ultimate goal, right, to end hunger. We feel our territory is wide, but our impact is local because of our local partners. They're on the front lines working to end hunger while they're helping to feed our neighbors in need. We're going to hear more from several of our partners a little bit later in the program, and how we're working together to fight hunger, improve lives, and strengthen communities. And I'll close by saying the pandemic shined a bright spotlight on food insecurity. It's up to us to emerge stronger, smarter, and better prepared to meet the needs that are coming at us. So we're truly better together. So thank you all, and I'm going to turn it back over to Amy.
Video. Thank you, Joe.
I started coming here a while back because my mom found it, that there was one local. So I went to that because I was unemployed and didn't have much money. Once I got a job again, I could afford to buy food, so I didn't come here. It makes a big difference. They make me be healthy. That's made everything a lot easier during my unemployment time. Whenever I'm in a bind, these guys help me out. I'd like to personally thank them for all the help they've given me.
Thanks again, Joe. It's just remarkable what we were able to accomplish. And I've heard you say this a moment ago, and you've said it many, many other times, but it is true that our territory is wide and our impact is local. And it's the strength of those relationships we have with the church pantries, the soup kitchens, the shelters, the youth programs, the community service organizations, the military veterans affairs associations, and in all of these local community groups really are our greatest asset in our ability to serve our mission. We invited several of these partners here today to talk about the power of our partnership in fighting hunger in central Pennsylvania. So first, I would like to introduce Alice Fox. Alice is the president of the New Love Center, and she works with Pastor Kerry Auker. He is the pantry administrator of the New Love Center. The New Love Center is a charitable nonprofit that distributes food in the Lycoming and Clinton County area. So they have a wide footprint, and they serve what we might call our northern tier of the Central Pennsylvania Food Bank. Also with us today is Bishop Roberta Thomas. Bishop Thomas is the founding pastor of the Fountain Gate Church and Ministries that serves the Allison Hill community in the city of Harrisburg. And also with us is Amelia Contreras. She is the executive director of Manos Unidos, and that is a center of an all-volunteer community organization facilitating cross-cultural understanding and serving the Hispanic population in Adams County. So welcome to all of you, and thank you for agreeing to be here today and to share a little bit about your experience with food assistance and ending hunger in your communities. We have had several questions that came in from our viewers as part of the registration, but if you have a question for Joe or any of our panelists, I invite you to send an email to info@centralpafoodbank.org. We have a lot of ground to cover in what's left of our program, but if we have some time, we'll do our best to answer your questions. So info@centralpafoodbank.org. So I'm going to ask each of our panelists to answer this first question one at a time. And the first question is, what was the most important lesson you learned during the pandemic? And since she's here in the room with me, I will start with Bishop Thomas.
Thank you, Amy. Good morning, everyone. I like the slogan that's, excuse me, on our board, that food shouldn't be an impossible choice. And I think the thing that I learned the most during the pandemic is if there's a will, there's a way. And in knowing that, we also understand that food needs are really a reality. And it knows no racial limitations. There's no racial bounds. It affects all of us. So if you have a will, South Central Pennsylvania Food Bank helps you find a way to serve the population.
Thank you. Let's go to Amelia. What was the most important lesson you learned during the pandemic?
I learned that importance of having pre-existing collaborations and partnerships. In this case, related with food, with the Central PA Food Bank, because when the pandemic hit, we didn't have to go around crazy trying to find the need, the supply of food that we needed because we already have you with us. It was just a matter of looking for to see if you were gonna be able to expand, to still be open, to still provide us with food, so we can distribute it to the families that the numbers were unbelievable increasing during the time. So partnerships are important
Yes.
to know who's around and who supports your mission. It was great to have you in our circle.
And how about the new Love Center, Alice and Pastor Ocker? What was the lesson that you learned during the pandemic?
Esther, why don't you go first? Yes.
We're working to get Pastor connected here. So, Alice, well, while we try to get Pastor back, Alice, do you have a few thoughts on this question?
Sure. Should I just talk over him, Amy?
He's not connected, so.
Okay. All right. First of all, thank you and good afternoon from the New Love Center. I think there's several things we learned through this pandemic. One is that our partnership with Central Pennsylvania Food Bank was just so important because whatever we needed, all we had to do was make a call or two calls and say, help us out here, how can we do this? And so that was the important thing. What came out of just doing food distribution, we started with in Jersey Shore, which is our normal area. Then we started a pop-up pantry in Lock Haven and Renova. So when you're talking about remote areas, rural areas that have not been served well, that's part of what we learned. We learned that wherever you go, people are willing to volunteer. And I can't stress that enough. So the partnership with Central Pennsylvania Food Bank and our volunteers was absolutely key. One day we were doing a pop-up pantry in Lock Haven, and one of the coordinators up there volunteer coordinators called me, and she said, Alice, I only have about 3 people. Well, we need about 20 to do a pop-up. And so all the way up there, I prayed and prayed. And when I got there at 12:15, it started at 2. When I got there at 12:15, the Central Pennsylvania Food Bank truck pulled in, and all these people got out of their cars, and we had so many volunteers. They took care of everything. So if we're looking at what did we gained partnerships, but most importantly, we served people. And our clients were so blessed. Many of them told us, I never thought I would have to go for food. That is not what I ever thought would happen to me. And yet they were in line for food. And what a blessing everything was. So when people say, that must have been a terrible ordeal for everybody in food banking, and I have to look around, and we all say this on our board level, we have to look around and say, we didn't think it was that bad. It brought a lot more people out that needed food that would have not gotten it. So, I think I've sort of, as Joe knows, I could go on and on, but I want to just say, our partnerships and our volunteers, and then of course we're so blessed with clients.
think that's definitely some great lessons that we all learned. And I think, the important thing about learning these lessons is, what do we do now? Where do we go from here? What do we take from this? So the next question here is, how does your partnership with the Central Pennsylvania Food Bank support your mission going forward? What do you see in the future here about how you serve your community? Do we have Pastor Auker back? Not yet. Okay. So Alice, since you had the floor, could you answer that? Sure. The question is, how does your partnership with the Central Pennsylvania Food Bank support your mission looking forward to the future?
When I look back over this past year and a half, and then I look forward, the Central Pennsylvania Food Bank is with us every step of the way. And, it was just interesting. I just talked to Travis Berg, the manager of the hub in Williamsport. We're looking to do pantry choice. And okay, so that's something that we know is coming, and that's what we want to do. And here again is, we can call, they're hooking us up with a couple of areas that do pantry choice to say, here, go visit them. They're willing to see you. So it's you don't have to start from the very beginning. You start where, okay, these folks know probably hundreds of people, and they can connect us with other folks that are doing distribution in a different way and doing it very well. So when I look at what we gain from our partnership, it's quality food at a discount price. There's a lot of things that are free, which is wonderful. There's nothing better than free. And then I think that you have to look and say, okay, how can we move forward? And we can only move forward when we have partnerships like the Central Pennsylvania Food Bank to say, boy, we can support you on this, or did you think about that? We tend to be very sometimes narrow in our thinking because, okay, this is what we do and we're doing it pretty well, so we'll just keep going. That's not always true. Sometimes we have to say, wait a minute, do I have tunnel vision? Do I need to look around and see, is someone else doing this better? And if they are, what can I take away from that? The beauty of working with being a partner agency is, it's always available if you call and say, hey, we're doing this, how do we do that? Or we're thinking about this. I really, I'm probably going on and on here as my time up. But I just want to say, don't think narrowly, get other people's views, other agencies' views. The Central Pennsylvania Food Bank has people that are so qualified, and they have the scope of looking all over the area, and they can say, hey, these folks are doing this. Did you ever think about that? It's wonderful when you look around and say there's other ways to do things.
I think that's a really great point that, the Central Pennsylvania Food Bank, we may be sort of the primary source of charitable food, but what we really are is this network of people just like you, Alice, and like Bishop Thomas and Amelia, who are really giving, your heart and soul to making sure that your neighbors have what they need in an emergency situation. They need food now, but also in those efforts to say, how do we end hunger before it starts? So I'll turn now to Bishop Thomas and ask the same question. How does the partnership with the Central Pennsylvania Food Bank support your mission looking forward in Allison Hill?
Thank you, Amy. I think Alice said a whole lot there that I could say ditto to. The truth of the matter is keeping our eyes open, understanding that there are many ways of supplying the need and ways to do better than we've done before with the Healthy Food Initiative, with menus in multiple languages, with intake. And I have not had a problem asking for help or asking for support or finding a need or improving the pantry. And as we continue to network and work together, as we continue to see the needs across cultural barriers, is a good thing. So with the food bank going forward, finding out how to expose, I look forward to opportunities of doing food prep of different foods that would expose people to something they might not normally eat or normally have access to. So the food bank is open to that and good in meeting that and alternatives and working within, if one person can't have it, going forward, working with transportation, working with better ways of doing things are tremendous help to a local food pantry in South Allison Hill. So I just look forward to continuing to work with the staff here at South Central to get new ideas and new ways to serve the people and to expose them to other opportunities that they wouldn't normally get. And I think that's a marvelous opportunity, not just the basic stuff, but to expose them to other healthy choices, even those that may have physical limitations, the diabetics, what have you, vegetarians. The menu at South Central is expanding to include those different concerns and considerations. So we look forward to continuing and exploring opportunities as South Central is able to present them to us.
And Amelia, let's talk to you about how you see your mission going forward and what the partnership with the Central Pennsylvania Food Bank means to you and your organization.
Thank you. Manos Unidas opened with the mission of integration of the growing Hispanic community in Adams County, facilitating adult education. We offer English as a second language classes, citizenship instruction, services for preparation of taxes. So the idea of opening Manos Unidas on 2006 was not to provide food, but with the partnership that we had at the time, we learned that it was a response to provide basics, to cover the basic needs of the immigrant families that were just coming here. It is difficult to expect that somebody is gonna sit in the classroom and try to learn English when they're struggling finding a job to provide food for their family. That you're gonna ask somebody to enroll in citizenship instruction when their salary just allow them to be able to pay their rent. So we have a long time with this partnership with the food bank that created a kind of a home environment in Manos Unidas where people feel confident to walk in and look for cereal and milk. And we serve families that are under, the poverty guidelines, all of them, but are struggling to make it. And they're so grateful to be able to find food in Manos Unidas in a place that they can walk in like it's their house. And we keep the basic records, basic information that we need to produce records, but it's not in an intimidating environment when they don't feel comfortable to even say where they work or they don't work. So to be able to carry on our mission of integration, of adult education, we need to help them to have their basic needs covered. And that has created a sense of trust in our community, knowing that we care for what they care. And from there, we built up to the place that the center wanted to be, full members of our community in all the senses, since learning English until becoming citizens and register to vote and completely be part of our community. But we need to cover the basics. And that's a possibility that we have with your partnership. With the support that we got and with the experience with the COVID pandemic, we we were able to increase our storage for food, for fresh food. We were able to learn more about keeping the place clean, more than clean, disinfected all the time, and we increased the number of volunteers that are trained, and they know how to handle the food and the food distribution. We're gonna keep working towards our mission of integration of our community, but we are gonna make sure that still we cover the basic needs for our community, that it will be lovely, but I'm sure that you know we have enjoyed so much the greatness of our community, how grateful they are, and how they were able to express their gratitude, especially during the pandemic, for being able to don't have to worry about food during the time. Because for many, it was when everything closed, with their employment places closed that are normally hotels, restaurants in the area. We knew that as many employers closed, we more needed to be open. And we were able to be open just because we had you there helping us to continue to be open and be able to provide for those basic needs.
That's wonderful. The strength of the partnerships never ceases to amaze me. And I think, the few comments that each of you have made about the clients that you serve, the people that you interact with every time you do these distributions, I think we can all agree that food insecurity is a complicated matter. It's not just, do I have enough food in this day, but what else is going on in that family, in that person's life, in our community. And so, one of the questions that has come in from our viewers is, we hand out food to the hungry. This emergency food assistance is critical and very important, but what's the next step? Where do we go from here? What are some thoughts that you have about the kind of ending hunger work that we should be doing? Maybe full service types of programs that we share. And I will include Joe in this question of, what does your organization look to do to address some of those core issues that might reduce the reliance that your clients have on the pantry? So I'll just throw this out at anybody who would like to start.
Oh, you got total silence in the room, Amy.
It's a hard question.
That's a hard question. One of the things that,
If I may say,
Go ahead, Amelia. Was that Amelia?
thank you. I just, when you were, yes, when you were saying about diversity, and I was talking about our mission, Manos Unidas, of integration, I just want to mention that I love the recipes that you put out there, because we copy those and we distribute them, because we are also in the field of education, and we are always promoting to try something new with the food that we bring, and we bring the recipe because we joke and we say, you know what, we don't have to eat rice and tortillas and frijoles and beans all the time. Let's try something new with these good ingredients that we're bringing. So I really like the recipes that you put out there, and that's an opportunity for us to be more diverse in our food and the food that we offer to our families.
That's wonderful. We do a lot of recipes for sure. Teaching people what to do with the food is great. Let's turn to the New Love Center. I think we have Pastor Acker set up now. So thoughts about next steps, ending hunger. Pastor.
We've been blessed with lots of volunteers. During the pandemic, there was many that stepped forward and helped. which was a blessing indeed. The New Love Center has had a very strong partnership from the beginning in 2014 with the Central Pennsylvania Food Bank, and we continue to utilize their gifts, their resources, and we're blessed by the abundance of fruits and vegetables that we can distribute on a regular basis. And so that continued partnership will help us with the increased, with the needs of people who are food insecure in this part of north central Pennsylvania.
Pastor, tell us a little more about some of the other things that you do at the New Love Center. Do you have some other programs? And maybe Alice could weigh in it as well, beyond just the food distribution?
We have the backpack program in the schools. This past year, we're into the second year now of the Bulldog Basket, which is the closet at the high school, since high schoolers don't think it's cool to have a backpack to take home, but they can help themselves to any food items in the closet that we supply through the Central Pennsylvania Food Bank. All the elementary schools have a backpack program. We also partner with Haven Cupboard in Lock Haven to provide students at Lock Haven University who live off campus who are food insecure with supplemental food. We're also involved as partners with the American Legion. We're military share. And we also do the Senior Box program, the CSFP, as well as now it's renamed Pennsylvania Senior Box, and the Elder Share program that comes out of the New Love Center.
That's
We have a
terrific.
number of partnerships.
You are serving lots of different groups of people between the kids and the seniors and everybody in between. That's terrific. Bishop Thomas, so tell us a little more about Fountain Gate and some of the things you're doing to address the concerns in the community, ending hunger or helping them sort of get past the crisis in the moment.
The outreach and the mission, whether it's back to school programs or it's community outreach, which takes shape of many different ways, with even with the pandemic, as you deal with sanitation and disinfecting things, making sure they have the necessary things to help with that. Not just our regular Tuesday distributions, but even on Saturdays, taking care and getting food similar to the pop-up pantry to people that you cannot reach during the week, expanding that now to be bilingual, with bilingual volunteers that are able to help discipline and put the forms down that are necessary and record what's out there. The Healthy Food Initiative, how to prepare food, we've had samples. They've come in and actually done in-house presentations, so we look forward, going forward in the future, to continue that opportunity, not just to show them how to prepare it, but to let them come and taste it once indeed it's been prepared is a good thing. The healthy alternatives, the food recipes, as my colleague has said, in different languages, helps them expand the opportunities and trying things that they wouldn't normally try in the food outreach, and looking forward to other opportunities to make it better. We do a massive outreach on Thanksgiving and Christmas as well that goes along with that. So we're looking forward to continuing partnering with South Central Food Bank to expand the vision and the mission. It started with bread and pastries, and now it's a full service, some 25 years later, of everything and anything that we can do and we can circulate, believing we're one of the oldest pantries in the Harrisburg area that has expanded via assistance and grants. The Bold Grant, we've gotten help from there to expand our capacity for distributing frozen products as well as maintaining shelf-stable items. So we look forward to continuing in that avenue, and as Alice so appropriately said, looking forward for other opportunities and other ways that may come. The community garden was a way of enlarging and being a part of that. So we look forward to the expansion and other opportunities in areas that South Central may have their finger in, as well as we're watching other areas to see what they're doing that we might enlarge the vision and the mission of feeding the hungry.
That's wonderful. So a question did come in.
Hello, Amy, I
Oh,
did want to.
Sure.
Because the Central Pennsylvania Food Bank has a broad view working with over 1,200 partner agencies, we and I know some of our partners that are with us here today do these varied services that get to helping people, end hunger before it starts, in their family. So we have partners that have healthcare partnerships where we bring together healthcare and the healthy food provided by Central Pennsylvania Food Bank. And our New Love Center friends do that work with Geisinger. And we have other healthcare partners we work very closely with, which helps people stay healthy, which in some cases helps them stay on the job, which keeps your finances strong in your household. Because when you're sick, you generally can't work well. And so that's an immediate impact on your financial affairs, right? And food banking and food insecurity often mostly is about money as much as it is about food, what you do at your resources. We have partners that do job placement work, that do training work. We have partners that assist with housing, not just benefits for food like SNAP or what we used to know as food stamps, but also housing and other benefits, Medicare, Medicaid, helping people navigate what are often very challenging governmental systems that aren't as friendly, as we are here at the food bank and with our partners. And I think it was Amelia that used the word trust, right? So one of the most important assets that we all have in this work is trust. And trust is something that is in short supply these days, particularly when it comes to government programs, government agencies. Those are our partners too. And we as a network are exceptionally skilled at helping people navigate so that all of those systems, they can navigate those and receive benefits that they're eligible for, which are going to help their family be able to afford their necessities, which include food, but not only food. That's really important work. And there is other examples of ending hunger work that are going on. And it might have been Alice that pointed out the value of sharing this information. And as we move forward, we want to get better and better at sharing with our partners things that are working around Central Pennsylvania that they may or may not be aware of. And a lot of that tends to help reduce hunger for the long term.
If I can just add something, one of the things that you mentioned, Joe, I think is so important is, and we've all mentioned that about healthy foods. We're in partnership with Geisinger, and we have what they call fresh food pharmacy. And we've done this for now over a year, where we have they have referred people to us who have needs and they're diabetic and they're food insecure. Well, there's nothing worse than somebody who's food insecure and is diabetic, because what's the easiest thing to go to? The comfort foods that may not be on the diabetic's diet. And so, and what we're addressing as we provide food for them is the whole family. So it's not just the diabetic that gets the food, it's the whole family. And when you look at that, it's amazing the benefits that have come out of that program. So when you're talking about that, I think we need to realize, to your point, Amy, when you said how we're going forward, how to help or end food insecurity. I hate to be pessimistic about it. I don't know that we ever will end food insecurity. But I think the point that Joe is making, which we all need to take away from this, is there are other things that impact their food insecurity. So how can we, as a partner agency, work with people to help them? Here's their one aspect of their life, but here's another. One of the projects that our strategic goals we set for this year, this coming year, is to work in a program that people who have a desire that need a job, is to teach them soft skills and to put together a 2-week program to say, come in, you can get food, but you'll be
think we're having some internet connection issues with Alice. But appreciate very much what she's saying about providing some different services that can really help people break free from needing the food pantry in the particular moment. So we're out of time for more questions, and there were a number of other questions, which we appreciate so much for everybody writing in these questions. But I mostly want to thank our panelists for what you do for our community, for your steadfast commitment to your neighbors, and being there when times are tough, and being that source of comfort, that source of hope. And so when we come back in a moment here, we'll talk a little bit more about what all of you can do to end hunger during this Hunger Action Month.
We have been coming to the pantry for about 1.5 years. We come every week. I'm a single mom. You don't realize how much the school meals help until they're home all day, and this has been a huge blessing because I can't work right now. Not being able to work, not having an income, so this food has helped us a lot, being able to eat. And
So for Hunger Action Month, we are asking ourselves, what can we do to end hunger? What will you choose to do to end hunger in Central Pennsylvania? The Central Pennsylvania Food Bank has 3 recommendations, 3 things that you can do that really make a difference. First is learn. Learn about hunger. Learn about how this issue affects our neighbors. We're glad that you could join us today, and we hope that you learned a thing or two about what's going on in Central Pennsylvania and the scope of hunger and how many people are facing these impossible choices. The second thing that we can do is to commit. Commit your time, commit your treasure, pledge to volunteer at the food bank. Last year, our volunteers donated more than 84,000 hours of their time to pack boxes of healthy, nutritious food that got shipped out to all of our partner agencies and into the kitchens and on the kitchen tables of our neighbors in need. You can grab a group of friends or coworkers, spend time volunteering, make a difference in the community. We have a terrific operation that makes it a lot of fun and very safe to volunteer, so we're always welcoming of new volunteers. You can make a donation. I think every person on the panel today would agree that money makes a big difference in their ability to serve the community. So by donating to the Central Pennsylvania Food Bank, $1 can be turned into 6 meals for our neighbors in need, and that's a powerful economies of scale that we can do. And right now, we are running a virtual food drive on our website at the Hunger Action Month page. That is a really fun and easy tool that we've developed that allows you to share. And if you like online shopping, like a lot of us were doing during the pandemic, you can shop, shop for your favorite items on our virtual food drive. And then the value of the items in your cart gets donated to the Central Pennsylvania Food Bank. And then that gets shared and factors into the ability of all of our partners to get the job done. And the third thing that you can do is speak up. We talk often of advocacy, and what exactly does that mean? That means amplifying our voices and making sure that the people who are experiencing food insecurity are not alone in the debate in the public square. Every one of us can call or write our local lawmakers and ask them to support programs that help the Charitable Food Network and address the root causes of poverty that might be factors in food insecurity. Congress is debating a budget package right now that will include more support for the Emergency Food Assistance Program, which brings literal tons of healthy food into the Charitable Food Network. We'll also expand the Pandemic EBT program, which provides SNAP benefits to school-aged children and their families that have really been a lifesaver during this entire pandemic. And here in the state legislature, here in the state capital of Harrisburg, we're also fighting for policies that will help people change their lives for the better. And, Pastor Ocker mentioned support for students who are attending college, helping people achieve higher education by making sure they don't go hungry while they're working on their degree is one bill that's been proposed in the state legislature that could really make a very big difference for a lot of people, being able to change their situation permanently to be more economically viable in their lives. So each of these actions, no matter which one you choose, will make a very big difference in ending hunger in central Pennsylvania. And we'll finish up here with Joe. Joe, any parting comments?
Sorry, I had to turn my mic back on there. Yeah, I really just want to do a big thank you. Thank you to you, Amy, and the team for putting together this town hall so that we can really show how we work as a network. I want to thank our guests today, our partners, Amelia, Alice, Pastor Ocker, and Bishop Thomas. Thank you so much for joining us today. And mostly thank you for everything that you do for our neighbors in need. You are the front line helping people. Thanks for all that you're doing. And I do want to give a big thank you to all of our other partner agencies, over 1,200 of them, all of the volunteers that support not only the food bank, but this whole network. It's many, many thousands of volunteers across central Pennsylvania. We couldn't do it without you. And of course, our donors of both food and money. We source food as a network from farm to fork. We're blessed to be in this amazing area for agriculture and food production, as well as transportation that brings a lot of food here. So it's an incredible set of businesses that we rely on. Thank you so much. And thank you to our team at the food bank for all of the work you do in the middle to connect all of these amazing people. And thank you, last but not least, to our neighbors in need that trust us. Thank you. If you need help, don't be afraid to ask. Look at the people that work in this mission. They care, they love you, and you can trust us. We're here for you. So thanks to everybody. We're truly better together. Take care.
And thank you again for joining us. And take action, and we appreciate your support.